Coming to you from the mountains and the plain, the only conservative voices brave enough to push back. This is the Conservative Daily Podcast with Joe Otto.
That's what the Second Amendment was designed to do. If you're going to do something to nullify or take away my rights under the Constitution, come get it.
Max McGuire.
When you look at politicians on the left, they need to convince people that they are victims.
A resistance to the resistance. And now your hosts, Joe Otto and Max McGuire.
And welcome back to another edition of the Conservative Daily Podcast. My name is Max McGuire. Today, I'm solo. Joe has food poisoning, so we all wish Joe well. Our producer, Josh, is still on vacation, so we have Lamar filling in for him today. Everyone say hi, Lamar, in the chat. Wish him good luck. He's done this before for us, but this is still only the second or third time he's done it. So everyone wish Lamar some good luck. Today, we are talking about something that a lot of people have experienced, and that is you put up a Trump sign, you think everything's going well, and all of a sudden you come back from the grocery store, from running errands, and it's gone. Or you wake up the next morning and it's gone. That happened to me last night. Don't know who took it. Someone stole my Trump sign, and I'm pissed about it. I'm really pissed about it. I'm so pissed about it, I want to crowdsource, I want to brainstorm a solution today to figure out how I can replace my Trump sign and do it in a way that won't get it stolen. And we're going to talk, I live in Texas, so we're going to talk a little bit about Texas law. I also live in an HOA, so it gets a little complicated. But luckily, last year, Texas passed a law prohibiting HOAs from blocking residents from putting political signs on their lawns during election years. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to show some videos and some pictures of the more creative ways that people have gone about protecting their signs. And again, I want people to comment in the comment section and let us know what you think I should do to protect my sign. I have a few ideas. I'm going to explain them as we go through the episode, but I want to get your ideas too. It has to be legal, right? I don't want to kill anyone. Like there's no landmines. I'm not going to put a landmine or explosives or firearms, right? I just need some advice. So let me go ahead and show you what happened to me. Let's go ahead and put up image number one. Image number one, this is from my front yard. Got it, Lamar? Right before we got on, you can see the little sign stand sitting there, and there's no Trump sign on top of it. Put it there a week ago, and it's gone. Gone. There's no Trump sign to be seen. So I got to replace it, right? And these things actually, if you've ever bought one, usually they're free. Usually you go to a Trump campaign headquarters or location, and they hand them out for free. The problem is that the campaign headquarters aren't open right now where I live, or at least I don't think they are because of COVID. So there aren't really advertising people walking into their campaign headquarters. I guess I could try. Problem is that when you buy them online at the Trump campaign store, which I'm happy to do, it costs $40 to ship 2 of them to you. And it took like a couple weeks the last time I ordered it. So if this keeps happening, I'm not going to have time to be able to keep ordering these if these keep getting stolen. So I need to figure out a way. I have one more sign. It's a corrugated plastic. I have one more sign to put out there. So I need to figure out a way that I can put it out there and it won't get stolen. But I also have to do it in a way that abides by my HOA restrictions and by Texas law. Now my HOA, anyone who has an HOA, you know how much of a pain they can be. They had a covenant in the regulations, the HOA, the DCCRs. They had a covenant, a requirement that you get any sign you want to put out approved by the Architectural Committee. That's bogus. That has now been preempted by Texas law. As I mentioned last year, Texas passed a law saying that HOAs cannot block residents from putting out political signs. Let's go ahead and put up image number 2. This is that statute. And I'm sharing this because I need to make sure that any ideas or suggestions you give to me are legal. So I'll read this for everyone listening. Section 259.002, regulation of display of political signs by property owners association. In this section, property owners association has the meaning assigned to it. It's an HOA. Except as otherwise, no, put that back up, except as otherwise provided by this section, a property owners association may not enforce or adopt a restrictive covenant that prohibits a property owner from displaying on the owner's property one or more signs advertising a candidate or measure for an election. They can't block you from putting it out within 90 days of the election, and they can't force you to take it down until 11 days after the election. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The section does not prohibit the enforcement of covenants that require the sign to be ground mounted, or that limits a property owner to displaying only one sign for each candidate or measure. Let's go ahead and put up image number 3. The statute continues. This section does not prohibit the enforcement or adoption of covenants. Basically, it's saying that HOAs can have restrictions, and they can make restrictions to stop you from using roofing material, siding, flora, balloons, or lights, right? They can say what you're allowed to put on your sign. They can stop you from attaching it to a tree or a plant, from using a traffic control device, a light, or trailer. They can stop you from painting on architectural surfaces. They can, if it threatens public health or safety, if it's larger than 4 feet by 6 feet, that's an important one. If it violates a law, if it contains language or graphics that are offensive to an ordinary person, or if it's accompanied by music or other sounds or streamers or anything distracting. So that is the law. We can go ahead and take that off, that image off. That's the law I'm working within. My HOA does not have any restrictions based on that new Texas law. So they haven't enacted anything. Linda's saying, no, get out of there. I can't get out of there. I can't just move during a pandemic. I wish. I actually like my neighborhood. They're pretty good. They don't have any covenants on the books that would block me from doing any of that, right? They haven't passed any restrictions blocking me from doing it. So right now, I can do pretty much anything with my sign, as long as it is not bigger than 4 by 6. So part of me wants to just put another sign out and see what happens. But as I said, it's my last sign. People saying paint on my lawn. I don't have that much on my lawn. I live in a development in the suburbs. So I don't have that big of a lawn to paint it. That's a good suggestion, Kathy. So I'm torn between putting out my sign and having it stolen again, which I don't want to do, right? I don't want it to get stolen, because then I have to wait another 2 weeks for it to happen, for new signs to get here, and I have to pay $40 to do it. So I kind of want to pay now, out of pocket, to set up a sign that can't get stolen. I don't want to keep buying campaign signs. Even though I'm happy to donate to Trump's campaign, I don't want to have to keep doing it. So the ideas I have a couple. Other than just putting it back out there and seeing what happens. The other idea is to make it very, very permanent. Either to make it so heavy that it can't get moved, which we'll see in a second. I'm going to show some images of what other people have done. Or to actually stake it or cement it into the ground with some kind of miniature cement pilings. Let's get this out of the way. People are saying I should booby trap it. Here's the problem. Texas law does not allow any booby traps on your property that could cause serious bodily harm or death. So I'm not doing landmines. I can't do a shotgun. There was actually a case years ago of someone in Texas who owned outbuildings. And they were worried that people were going to be going into the buildings and they were going to be squatting or stealing stuff. So he actually took a shotgun and he triggered it so that the minute you open the door, if you open the door, he knew not to open the door. Everyone that it was allowed knew not to open that door. If you open that door, the shotgun would shoot you in the knee. So sure enough, someone broke into his outbuilding, triggered the booby trap, and got shot by a shotgun in their knee. Right? The person got charged for trespassing and whatnot, but that trespasser then sued the homeowner and won, because you're not allowed to just shoot people like that. So that was decades ago. But you're not allowed to have any kind of trap that can cause serious bodily injury or death. So that gives us some wiggle room. We have some traps. Electricity is probably out, because electricity can kill you, even if it's just a little bit of it. Right? They could have a heart condition, right? They could have a pacemaker. Lots of things could possibly kill someone with an electric fence, even a small voltage. I don't want to do anything that could get me in trouble, right? But I think that there are ways that we could either add some playful traps, some noisemakers to alert me if someone's stealing it, or just things that would generally make it unpleasant to steal or hard to steal. So we're going to get through some of these ideas that other people have had. I like the ideas people are saying. Keep doing that. But this is the time where I have to ask you, please hit the share button. Please like the video, and please continue commenting. I want to really have a nice little brain trust here. So I want as many people to see this and add their 2 cents as possible. So please, please, please hit that share button. Help us get this podcast into more people's news feeds. People saying paint bombs, ink bombs. Mary saying tar on the back so it sticks to their hands. That's an interesting one. I thought about that. I thought about adding tar. Someone on our Facebook page last night recommended using Vaseline, so something that's not really water soluble, and mixing in irritants like chili pepper powder, right? Or chili powder, or even like ghost pepper powder, right? I've thought about that. That I could probably do. People said dog poop. I don't want dog poop on my lawn. I mean, I have dogs. I'm sure they'd be more than happy to poop on the lawn. I just don't want that. I mean, yeah, someone could possibly sit on it or stand on it, but then I also have to smell it, so I don't want that. But I've thought about the Vaseline way of doing it. Mike says glitter bomb. Yeah, but then the problem is I have a bunch of glitter all over my yard, and I don't want glitter on my yard. I could do cat poo, but then again, same problem with the dog poo. Anyway, let's look through some of the ways that other people have done this. I don't want to do the electric. I could. I have the technology, but I don't want to do it. But here, it would be very satisfying to watch. Let's watch this guy. This guy electrified his Trump sign back in 2016, and sure enough, he got someone on video trying to grab it. Let's play cut 1. It's running up in a second. Run up to steal it. Ah! Watch it one more time. Walking by, sees an opportunity to steal it, runs up. Oh! Electrocuted. You see, that would be so satisfying to watch if I could get it videotaped. That would be so satisfying to watch. But, as I mentioned, under Texas law, the law is very vague about whether or not that would be considered a fatal, potentially fatal booby trap, because low amounts of electricity could kill someone. Let's play this. This is another person who did that during the 2016 election. This is Fox's coverage of it. Let's play cut 2.
Check out what happens when a guy tries to steal a Trump sign from his neighbor's lawn. Watch this. All right, so there's no sound, but you can see the guy running on the lawn, trying to steal the sign, gets buzzed. You get electrocuted when you touch the sign. The homeowner in Washington State was sick of thieves stealing his sign, so he booby-trapped it with electricity zapping anyone.
Oh, we just lost our whole background. Uh-oh, Lamar. Lamar, what'd you do? Okay. All right, Lamar. That's your warning. Very, very fun to watch that happen to that guy. Very, very fun. But, as I said, Texas law doesn't allow me to do that. I mean, technically, it could be considered fatal. Let's go ahead and put up image number 5. Image number 5. This is how one person out in rural areas decided to electrify their Trump fence back in 2016. But, unfortunately, for me, while Texas law protects me in an HOA, allows me to put up a Trump sign, it does not allow me to put up fencing. For fencing, I have to get approval from my architectural committee. Very stupid, right? So I can't do that. I don't even think I'd have enough space. I don't think I'd have enough space to do that. Let's also put up image number 6. This is how another family back in 2016 did it. They actually erected an entire chain link cage. They put their sign in a cage, and apparently right now it's off. But they also had electric current going through it. I can't do that. I can't erect a fence. My HOA would never let me erect a fence to protect a little sign. Not doable. I like the idea of electricity. Ryan McBride says Texas has tons of electric livestock fences. That's true, because the law allows people to protect their livestock with an electric fence. In residential areas, electric fencing is not as easy to get away with, right? You can't just have an electric fence around your backyard. If you had livestock and you wanted to protect them from escaping, that's one thing, and you have to have the proper signage. But to stop people from coming in, electric fences under Texas law could possibly get you in hot water. Lori says, get a cow then. Yeah, sure. Well, actually, no, my HOA doesn't allow it, but that'd be, I guess, a workaround. Get livestock, but I don't want to get livestock to protect the side. I mean, I absolutely could. I like the electric idea. I could do it. I have enough batteries. I could do it. This one's funny. It doesn't really apply to my situation. Let's go ahead and put up image number 4. This is a guy who had a long strip of grass on his property. So he had people running over his signs. So if you look there, he actually, at the base of his signs, he put a 2x4, it looks like, with a bunch of nails sticking up, so that the next time someone decided to run over his Trump signs, they would get a flat tire. And sure enough, you can see on the top right, that is the footage, allegedly, of the person who ran over this guy's Trump signs. I thought that's really creative. It doesn't apply to me, but I really like that. I wanted to show it because it is very fun. Jason says glue mouse traps, or he says mouse glue traps. That's interesting. I thought about just doing regular mouse traps or rat traps. Let's go ahead and put up image number 8. This is how one person has decided to keep his Trump sign safe. It looks completely innocuous from the front, but as you can see on the back, he has 3. Those aren't mouse traps. Those are rat traps. Anyone who's ever handled a rat trap or had one accidentally snap on them knows that those things do not mess around. Like, I've gotten nipped by a mouse trap before. It's not fun. But rat traps, we're talking about big rat traps, under Texas law, technically, a rat trap could cause serious bodily injury. Zach says, just put a warning sign up saying that I have the right to shoot you. Is stealing my sign really worth it? That's interesting. So Texas law does not allow you to shoot someone during the daytime for trespassing on your property. It doesn't allow you to. But at nighttime, anyone who comes onto your property and then commits a crime, it doesn't have to be in your home. It can just be on your property. Technically, Texas law allows you to shoot them. Now, I don't want to shoot someone over a sign. It's probably just a bunch of kids or teenagers. I'm not going to shoot someone because they stole my Trump sign. But technically, if they did it at night, I'd be allowed to. Not that I would. Just saying that at night, I would be allowed to. I don't really want to put up a sign that says I'm going to shoot my neighbors because I still have to live with these people. Right? Come November 4th, one way or another, regardless of who wins, better be Trump, regardless of who wins, I still have to live with these people. So I don't want to just put up a sign that says I'm going to shoot you. It's not very, very neighborly. Even if it is just a fake threat, I still have to live with these people. This is another idea I had. Let's put up image 7. Well, it's not an idea I had. This is what someone else did. They made the sign so damn heavy, no one could possibly take it. So you can see this sign. It's a Trump sign. It looks like they made it or they got it made. It looks to be welded all together. And apparently, according to the description, that sign weighs at least 300 pounds. At least 300 pounds. That's possible, but I don't know how to weld. I don't have a welder. If I had a welder and I had a bunch of iron or steel lying around, then that would be an excellent option. I like it. But I'm not a welder. I mean, I guess I could find someone to weld me a sign. But it seems weird to have to jump through those hoops to get my neighbors, whoever they are, to stop stealing my sign. People saying, keep out if you don't want a flat tire. Simple. Yeah, I don't think that they pop the curb to steal my sign. James Riley asks if the rat trap would break fingers. It could. I mean, on a kid, if you got a rat trap, yeah, it could. It could. I mean, it's not designed that way, but it could. And that's why Texas's law is so hard to interpret, because the fact that I understand that it could means I can't do it, right? It would have to be a booby trap that is so obvious it can't kill someone. That'd be a lot. And let me explain why Texas's law is this way. You have the right to defend your property. You do. And you have the right to use force against people trespassing in certain situations. The reason that fatal or lethal or potentially lethal or traps that cause serious bodily injury, the reason that they're not allowed is because they do not discriminate against someone who is breaking the law or someone who is wandering onto your property for a legal reason or for an innocent reason, right? A little kid flying their kite, they let go of the kite and it lands on my front yard, right? I can't shoot them because they're picking up their kite because it fell on my yard, right? I can't do that. So the reason you can't have really, really dangerous traps, and it makes sense, is because those traps, if they're just set to be triggered by someone else, they don't discriminate against people who are doing illegal things and people who are doing legal things. It makes sense. I mean, it makes sense. The reason you can't just put a bear trap outside your window, because the only people, there might be other people who walk outside your window there for legal reasons. Like if you have an easement behind your yard for utilities, right? There are utility workers who have a legal right to walk along the side of your house. You can't just put bear traps there, right? And I wouldn't put bear traps to protect my sign. People saying razor wire. You know, I've thought about that, but I do have kids in the neighborhood. And there are kids who might go up to it and see it and say, ooh, what's that? And I don't want to hurt kids, right? That's the other thing. Like we're not like Joe likes to call them the pedos in the Democrat Party. We're not looking to hurt children at all. I don't want to hurt innocent people. So razor wires out, barbed wires out. Someone on Facebook last night suggested razor blades. That's out. More people saying rat traps. I've thought about just doing like a security camera. I mean, it's not hard to do. Put a security camera up. But that doesn't get me my sign back necessarily. It doesn't help me. I mean, I'd love to be able to hold someone criminally responsible for this, but it doesn't get me my sign back. And the next sign I put out, I want to be permanent. So Zach says to take the sign and put it in a bucket, 10, 15-gallon pail, and then I guess I'm trying to screw up and read all of his, putting cement in the pail and putting, yeah, I mean, that would definitely deter. But anyone who truly wants to steal my sign will be able to lift or roll it away, right? I want to figure out a way so that it won't be stolen. And this is something that I think this could work. It's not as fun, but I do like it. Let's go ahead and play this. This is how a guy stopped people from stealing his Trump signs back in 2016. He just tied a little fishing line to it. And watch what happens when people pull it and then it stops going with them. Let's play cut 3.
This is surveillance video of someone trying to steal this homemade Donald Trump sign from Mike Horton's front yard last Thursday.
It's irritating because, you know, it's our right as United States citizens to be able to voice our opinion on how we want to vote.
But the would-be thief didn't get very far because the sign is padlocked to a hoard that Horton beat into the ground himself to keep people from stealing it.
Right here is a steel rod that you can't see that I beat into the ground.
So you beat a steel rod into the ground?
Oh, yeah. I'm a journeyman iron worker. I can beat anything. I beat on iron my whole life.
Last Thursday was the third time in about a month that Horton and his wife found the sign on the ground.
And this is what the kid probably did. He went like this, and he ran like this, and went...
Horton says after a second attempt to take the sign, he got this anonymous letter in the mail
This is good.
telling him his support for Trump in the neighborhood is sad and disgusting. But it didn't stop Horton from putting up another Trump sign.
I don't really know why I like him, but everything that comes out of his mouth, almost everything that comes out of his mouth, I agree with.
Which is enough reason for Horton to keep his sign up.
I unlock it and take it in every night.
So I like that. I think it's funny. I think it's a way to prevent people from stealing it in a way that doesn't hurt anyone. I like the idea of putting a camera so I can capture them trying to pull it away and all of a sudden it stops giving and they fall over. Let's play this. This is another clip. This is cut 3. Another guy who did a similar thing. Let's play this.
On the Old North Side, one homeowner is taking a stand.
I put the frames together and I've had to use duct tape to stretch them and to hold them up.
He's showing public support for his candidate of choice, but you don't have to look closely to see the sign is in rough shape.
It's doing pretty good now until the next person comes along and tries to steal it.
Philip, who asked us not to use his last name, points to 2 attempted thefts in about 4 weeks' time. The first happened within a week of the sign hitting the grass.
And I looked out my front door one day, and the sign was laying probably about 4 feet over, and it was crumpled up pretty good.
But both attempts at snatching the sign have been unsuccessful.
I'm 2-0 right now on that.
You see, Philip figured this might happen. That's why he's taking matters into his own hands with some fishing wire and string spray painted green. He set up a camera after the first attempt. It captured a woman on Tuesday trying to take off with the goods, but you can see she doesn't make it far.
She loses her footing and lost her grip, and she went flying.
Now Philip has this to say to anyone else who might think of setting foot on his lawn.
Whether it's a Hillary, Bernie, or Trump sign, it's not yours. It don't belong to you. You might disagree with whatever the politics are, but it's not yours. Leave it alone.
That's funny. So I like that one. I wouldn't have thought that just putting a little bit of fishing line on it would create such dramatic video. Because I have a game camera, right? I have a hunting game camera. I can put that on a tree and set it up. I just have to make sure I have a memory card for it. I can set up my game camera and watch it no problem and get that kind of footage. I think that'd be hilarious. I'm worried, though, that all someone has to do is just cut the line, right? I mean, I guess I could padlock it to a steel stake like that iron worker. I love how that one person was like, what, you pounded a stake into the ground? I was like, yeah, I did. I'm an iron worker. I can pound anything in the ground. I was like, oh, yeah, he's not messing around. I could do that. Problem is, the place I want to put it is where, let's go ahead and put up image number 1 again. Image number 1, put that up one more time. The problem is, you can see right there, that little box, that's where I want to put the sign. That little box is my water that comes into the house from, actually that's the water from my sprinkler systems, but right under there, that whole area is where the pipes are bringing water into my home. So I'm very nervous about digging a post footing as Zach suggested. I could, I just have to make sure I guess I have to call and have them come out and bring and mark it, but I could. It's just, it would be really stupid. I would feel really stupid if I broke a water pipe to try and stop them from stealing a $20 sign. What other ideas do people have? Glue a lot of fish hooks to the back. That would be interesting. Patsy says an electric dog fence. We talked about electricity earlier. Electricity could kill someone. Even a little bit could technically kill someone, so we can't do that. And electric dog fences tend to require them to wear a collar that will zap them. So unless everyone's wearing a collar, which they won't do, it might be a little bit harder. Sherry says, what about a green dog run wire leash line? Yeah, we could do that. We could do that. People suggesting, oh, Kathy's saying water lines are 4 to 6 feet deep. That's great. That's probably true. I know that my sprinkler lines are not that deep because in Texas you don't have to dig them that deep because we don't get frost. So we aren't required to put sprinkler lines down that deep. So I could definitely find out where they are and mark it. I just wouldn't want to have my whole yard flood over it. I mean, let's talk about this. Let's talk about how stupid this is. That I have to brainstorm ways to stop someone from stealing my property off of my own lawn. And I think that this falls pretty nicely into the overall conversation of what's going on in this country. You have a group of people, predominantly on the left, no doubt about it, there's people on the right who feel this way too, but people on the left who are taking advantage of the current political climate and using it to commit crimes. Right? Last night, the rioters, and it was declared a riot, so we're allowed to call them that. We're allowed to call last night's Joe Biden supporters rioters in Portland. Last night, they set fire to the buildings around Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler's condo. So a couple days after Ted Wheeler, mayor of Portland, sent Trump a letter saying, we don't need your help, we got this covered. A day after that, someone gets murdered in the street. Covered that yesterday. 2 days after that, his own buildings, the mob is trying to burn it down. They don't have it under control at all. The reason I bring that up is because there is a group in this country, predominantly on the left, who truly believe they can get away with anything for two reasons. They don't believe that the prosecutors or the cops will do anything because they're too afraid of being caught on video arresting someone who's African American, right? Or tasing them, right? Too afraid of that. Or two, they truly believe that their cause is so just, that Donald Trump is so evil, that if they steal something off of your lawn, they're justified in doing it. And we're seeing that across the country, right? This isn't new. As soon as Donald Trump was elected, remember Yvette Falarca? Don't have her video, but she was, actually, I think she's a teacher in California. She ran an organization called BAM, By Any Means Necessary. And she was arrested for punching a Trump supporter in the face. And when she went to court, her argument was it cannot be assault if you are punching a fascist, because punching fascists is not assault, it's defense. That's been the leftist argument for 4 years, that it's not assault if you punch a fascist. It's not assault. It's not, you can punch fascists. You can break the law if you're fighting fascism. That's why we're in this position, right? And maybe I'm overanalyzing my sign being stolen. And because frankly, this is the first time anyone's ever stolen anything from my yard that I know of, at least. It definitely leaves you with a feeling of vulnerability, because it's $20 Trump sign. It's not a big deal, ultimately. But if people are willing to do that, are they willing to take a couple more steps forward and break into my home? Yeah. Are they willing to go through my gate and go into my backyard and mess with stuff there? Probably. It creates this feeling of vulnerability. So that's why I am trying to figure out a way. John says a paintball sentry turret. That is non-lethal. I could do that. But again, we do have kids, and it's going to be near a sidewalk where kids walk, where mothers and fathers walk their babies in their carriages, little strollers. I don't want to just be shooting people on a proximity alarm, but that would be legal. Arm the sprinklers to turn on with motion. Yeah, but then I could get fined if they do it during the day, because we actually have we're not allowed to water our lawn during the days here in Texas right now, because we're not in a full drought, but we're in, like, I think they call it stage 1. So that gives me the other issue where if I turn it on during the day, I could actually get fined, which I don't want to deal with that. Jason says you take Vaseline and you mix red dye and you smear it on the backside edges. So that way their hands will be stained and probably their clothes. I like that idea. I'm really leaning towards the Vaseline approach, at least on this next sign, because I know how annoying Vaseline is when there's nothing added to it, trying to get it off your hands. Putting things like dye in the Vaseline, putting things that are irritants. I don't even know if chili powder or ghost pepper powder would do anything, but I'll put it in there to try it. That way, if they grab it, they get it all over their hands. I like that idea. I like the pine tar idea of putting like pine tar or something so sticky that it just makes them unable to get their hand off. But then they're just going to run away with my sign stuck to their hand. I like the idea of it causing them an inconvenience, but I still will lose my sign. So I'm trying to find a middle ground here where I can protect my sign from being stolen and cause someone enough inconvenience that they'll think, hey, I probably shouldn't do this again. I like the mouse traps. I like the sticky stuff, except the fact that they'll steal a sign. I like the irritants. I'm just nervous. Apparently TT has done this before. He says we need pepper oil. Sherry says jalapeno juice. Interesting. You guys know way too much about pepper-infused Vaseline. I want to know where you got your experience infusing Vaseline. No, but it probably would work. Pepper oil, jalapeno juice. Maybe I just put it somewhere else. Here's the other idea I have. Texas law. We can go ahead and put it up one more time. Which one is it? Let's put up image number 3. So Texas law says the HOA cannot do anything against me as long as the sign is not larger than 4 feet by 6 feet. The other idea I have is to make the sign too big to steal. Let me go ahead and take that off. Too big to steal. Going to Home Depot and getting a piece of plywood, right? But then I'm not an artist. I'm not an artist. I'm not good at painting. I mean, I can paint surfaces solid colors, but painting Trump, Pence 2020 with all the nice little lines, the pinstriping and the stars, I'm not good enough. I'm not a good enough artist. My grandma is, but she lives too far away. And then we get to the point where, am I really about to commission an artist? I mean, I'll do it. I'll absolutely do it. But it just gets to the point where, like, wow. And I as I said, it's the fact that there's this feeling of vulnerability that I was stolen from, which anyone who's ever been stolen from, you know the feeling. And there's the idea that I don't want these kids, teenagers, adults, whoever, to be able to get away with it. And I don't want them to silence me. Like, I talked to family members, and they said that I shouldn't put a sign out, because if I keep pissing off neighbors, maybe they'll throw a brick through my baby's window. Which I can understand how that would be a fear, but is that at this point, if that's how you're treating it, then the person who stole a sign is a terrorist, right? Terrorism doesn't require you to have a bomb, doesn't require you to shoot someone. All terrorism requires is the perceived use of force against you, making you so fearful that you change your mind politically, or you change the way you act politically. It's violence or law breaking for the purposes of changing a political outcome. So yeah, when you steal someone's sign, you can interpret it as a form of terrorism. Oh, there's my mom in the chat saying that is my fear. I didn't want to list your name, but at that point, if I allow this person to make me so afraid that I won't put a Trump sign out, that I silence myself, I won't do that. No way. I mean, I also have a Trump flag flying from my flagpole. So, I mean, that's still there. But I did notice, and this is what really pisses me off, I did notice that my Trump flagpole is no longer tight against the pole, the pillar that it's screwed into. It is dangling loose, suggesting that someone might have tried to pull it down. The weird thing is that should have been caught on my ring. I didn't see it. So that has me nervous, because if they're coming up to my home and pulling down my flagpole, then I'm really pissed. And then it actually becomes a much more significant crime, because anytime they damage something, or they steal something, or attempt to steal something attached to your house, the law typically applies the same punishment as if they would have entered your house and stole. So that pisses me off. Christy says, put it under a tree, hooked to a bucket of goo. It's like we're gonna do Nickelodeon. We're gonna slime them. We're gonna take the Nickelodeon approach. I like that. I have a tree. I guess I could. Christy's saying I should also use a stencil to build it. Sherry says, I like it. A big R sign, get the wood and get a Trump flag and staple it to it. I thought about that too. So I have, too far away for me to grab them, but I have a bunch of old Trump signs, but they're 2016 signs, but I can put them up. Old Trump flags. I thought about not stapling it, because stapling you can rip it down. I thought about actually gluing it, actually like epoxy adhering it to a piece of plywood. I thought that would be an excellent way to get it to stick. I want to make sure that I do it in a way that also is not tacky, right? Because I still live here. I still want my house to look nice from the street. I don't want to piss my neighbors off so much. I still want it to look nice and respectful and professional. But I could easily tape, staple, or glue. I definitely want to epoxy adhere it to the actual board. But then I'd have to drive the board, whatever posts I have connected. I have to drive it into the earth. I don't want to use concrete footings. I mean, this is where me as a DIYer, my imagination starts going, right? But when you start getting to the point where you're thinking about mixing up cement to keep your sign safe, we have reached a point in our country that is, it's very depressing, right? There, you can have a disagreement, you can be respectful politically without stealing. Wayne says the main thing is to have an intruder alarm on the house. I do. We have an alarm system, so we're safe there. I have a Ring doorbell, but it didn't capture it because a car was in the way. So I'm debating, do I go out and get another security camera? I kind of wanted one anyway, but that's a whole thing, right? I have a brick facade to my house, so I'm not going to drill into the brick. So that limits where I could possibly put it. I could put it up near a window, underneath a window, over my driveway as like kind of a spotlight. I could do that. I could install it along the, what would it be? It'd be the framing of the garage door. That's wood. I can install it there. Then I have to run the wiring. It's just a lot. I mean, I do it. I don't want to use a battery one because the battery ones are terrible. Anyone who has a battery security system, if it's not arm's reach, it's annoying as hell. More people saying hook an electric fence. I would love to, but unfortunately, Texas law is written in a way that if I did that, I could be breaking law. TT says she's got to go, but I hope you find a good solution. Well, thank you, TT. Thank you for stopping by. You had a lot of good suggestions. I appreciate it. So yeah, what we're doing today is we're brainstorming ideas. I've seen a lot of good ideas of ways. I'm leaning towards two things. I'm leaning towards putting my replacement, because I have one more. They come in packs of 2 from the Trump campaign. Putting my replacement sign out there with maybe a string attached to it or something like that. That's just going to get stolen again. Then, yeah, Amanda's saying Ring alarm. I like the Ring alarm. The problem with Ring alarm is they charge you. You have to pay to have that footage stored. I like the idea of it being stored locally, so I'm not paying a company for cloud footage. But, I mean, the Ring isn't that much if you're just doing one camera. It's when you start setting up a bunch of cameras with Ring, that's when they really get you with the charges. Because every camera requires an increase. I thought about Wise. Anyone who knows Wise? I have a few Wise cameras lying around. I like those, but those aren't really waterproof, and they are powered by USB power. Eugenia says, run a cord to it and hook it to the flag, run other end into the house, make it look like it's connected. Yeah, I could. So I have a couple ideas. Making it so that the sign is attached so they can't take it. They can't steal it. Oh, I don't know why we're putting that back up. That's the heavy sign. Okay. Lamar, watch it. A couple ideas are that I can make it so that you can't steal it, just like we saw with those people who ran some fishing line or some chains to it. So when people tried to pull it, they're blown backwards. If I do that, I need to have a video camera because I want to capture that. The other idea is to drive it into the ground and make it impossible to be stolen using either concrete footings or whatnot. I like that idea too. The other idea is to make it as big as I legally can, which is 4 feet by 8 feet. And I really like that. I really like the idea of if this next one I put out there is stolen, the biggest one I can possibly make. Obviously, making sure that it is professional looking, that it's classy looking, that it doesn't look like disgusting, right? I don't want to make it look gross, but I also really like that one too. I'm torn, but I'm really mad that I even have to have this conversation. I'm glad everyone helped me with this. You have great ideas. I've seen a bunch of them. I'm going to go through them later and read even more. If you like this, if you think this is a funny conversation, make sure you hit the share button. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you comment so we can reach more people, because I know I'm not the only one dealing with this. Listen, I live in Texas. I live in a neighborhood that is majority military, which is why I'm so shocked that this happened. I'm just shocked. And I know that it's politically based because there's a house on the end of the street that has a Black Lives Matter sign. And I was very tempted they put it up months ago, which they're not allowed to do. Even Texas's law that allows you to put political signs within 90 days of an election doesn't allow you to put a Black Lives Matter sign up in front of your house ever. It's not covered by law. I was very tempted to turn them in, but I said, you know what? It's not worth the fight. Let's just be neighbors. It's not worth making this an HOA deal. But I noticed that my sign's gone. Their sign's still there. So, it's obviously political, because if it was someone going around being sign enforcement saying, oh, you're breaking the covenants of the HOA, they would have taken hers down too. So it's obviously politically motivated. Otherwise, it wouldn't just be mine that's been stolen. But it pisses me off. Kelly says a 4x8 banner from Vistaprint is $122.50. Yeah, I thought about that, but then if they actually steal it, they rip it off, then I'm out $122. If I'm going to do that, if I'm going to go that route, I'm going to either epoxy something to plywood or metal, or I'm going to have someone, I'm going to commission an artist to paint me a 4x6 Trump sign. That is my idea. It's unfortunate, but this is the world we live in. We live in a world where the other side truly believes, as I said earlier, the other side truly believes that they are so virtuous, that their side is so just, that anyone who disagrees with their political thinking, that obviously you're a bigot, you're a sexist, you're a homophobe, go down the list, right? All the isms that we've heard them throw at President Trump. People are being taught today, these snowflakes are being taught that they are so important, that their political beliefs are so important, that anyone who disagrees with them is obviously a bigot, because they're the only ones who could possibly have a valuable political opinion to share with the world. So people walking down the street see a Trump sign have been conditioned for 3.5 years, 4 years, that when you see Trump, that means racism. I mean, I just had a friend of mine from college, post on her Instagram that anyone who votes for Trump is voting for white supremacy. I mean, this is how twisted we've become, folks. She knows me. I know her. She knows I'm not a white supremacist. How have we gotten to this point where we become so twisted that we actually believe that if you cast a ballot for one of the two major political parties, that you're a white supremacist, that you're a racist? How have we gotten to that point? I mean, I can tell you how we got there. We've gotten there little by little. Back in 2016, 2017, the idea of Antifa punching Trump supporters in the face was horrible. CNN actually covered it. When Trump had rallies in California, CNN actually aired the footage of Trump supporters being beaten and bloodied and bruised, because they, at that point, weren't trying to put their finger on the scale. They still had the, if it bleeds, it leads. We're going to cover this. Today, they're not covering it. They're not covering the violent aspects of the protest. They're putting their fingers in their ears and saying, la, 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 peaceful protest, la, la, la. We've seen it, right? The CNN guy in Kenosha saying with the tagline, with the Chiron, fiery but peaceful protests. That's how we've gotten here. We've gotten here by not calling a spade a spade. Violence is violence. The left loves to say that silence is violence, that if you disagree with them, or if you don't mimic what they're saying, like if they say Black Lives Matter and you don't follow suit, the leftist claim is that silence is violence, that by being silent, you are committing violence. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. The idea that if you don't believe what someone else says and you're not willing to also shout it, that's somehow violence? I mean, this is what happens. I didn't think it would get like this, but this is what happens when the snowflakes in college go out into the real world. I mean, I graduated from college back in 2012. So I experienced this kind of leftism, snowflake. We didn't have a word for it then, in college. Right? I went to a Catholic school and we had people protesting the fact that there were crosses and crucifixes in every room. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, they knowingly went to a Catholic school and are complaining about the fact that there are images of Jesus in the classrooms or in the hallways. Like, that's how twisted we're talking about. Now they're back. Now they've all graduated the last 8 years, and now they are in society. And now they're taking the same snowflake mentality that was coddled in college, and they're basically applying it to all of us. That's how we got here. I mean, it's shameful. It's to the point where we've talked about this. Kyle Rittenhouse. The video clearly shows he was fleeing from a mob that was chasing him. The video clearly shows, we actually didn't talk about this, New York Times actually did a great piece on this, that right before Kyle Rittenhouse shot and killed his first attacker, someone behind the attacker fired a gun. So Kyle Rittenhouse turned around after hearing a gunshot and sees someone lunging at him. That was the mindset that Kyle Rittenhouse had when he fired his first shots. We then watched on video, he was running down the road. He got sucker punched, hit in the back of the head. He trips and falls. The mob jumps on top of him. Someone kicks him in the face. Someone hits him in the head with a skateboard. Someone runs at him holding a handgun. And he's forced to defend himself. And it's gotten so bad that the mainstream media saw that footage, and instead of actually saying, yeah, this kid had to use a firearm because they were going to beat him to death, instead they ran with that he's a white supremacist. Where's that? How can anyone possibly say that a 17-year-old lifeguard is a white supremacist? I mean, he could be. I highly doubt it. But these people were running with that headline hours after the shooting, before he was actually identified and arrested. They were saying white supremacist shoots peaceful protesters. We've gotten to the point where we're being conditioned to actually believe that if you're a conservative, your rights don't matter anymore. That if you're conservative and you're pushing back or you're defending yourself against the violent mob, you don't have self-defense rights. Because the mob is just and you are not. The mob is right and you are not. If you use a firearm to defend your life and the mob, and you use it against the peaceful protesters, you're the one who is in the wrong. We're being conditioned to believe that if you are a Trump supporter and you put a sign in front of your yard and someone steals it, it's not theft. No, you triggered them. And in order to get over the anxiety that you caused them, they had to steal it. I mean, that's what they argue. That's what they argue. That's actually what they believe. That crime is permissible when someone is triggered enough. And I'm not using trigger in the legal sense of like of a firearm. Triggered, like someone sees something that doesn't agree with their worldview, and they get so angry and so anxious that they break down and have a mental breakdown. That's triggering. Right? Anyone who's seen the video, the second that Donald Trump is inaugurated, the leftist who gets down on her knees and goes, no, that's triggering. We've been led to believe that the minute the leftist gets triggered, any free speech rights you have, any self-defense rights you have, they go out the window. Because leftists are right and you're wrong. That's what the establishment's telling you, the media. That if there's a peaceful protest, doesn't matter if the person who got, it doesn't matter if Jacob Blake raped someone or sexually assaulted someone. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that he had an active warrant and police were notified about that when they arrived on the scene. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that he scuffled with police, got tased. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter that he then walked away from police, reached into a car, and was either holding a knife or reaching for a knife. Doesn't matter. They shot him. That means we burned down the city. And if you get in our way, you're a racist, sexist, bigot, everything, white supremacist. And if we decide that you're a racist or white supremacist and we want to kill you for it, you're also a murderer if you defend yourself. Yeah, it's crazy that this is the discussion we're having, talking about stealing a sign, but it's the same fundamental flaw in the logic. The idea that it's not a crime if it's committed by a leftist. I mean, I don't think that that's technically right in Texas. I think if I got that person on video, I think I probably still could get them punished. Probably not arrested, but at least get someone knocking on their door, getting the sign back. I didn't get them on video, stealing my sign. But I'm not going to make that mistake again. My next step after this episode is to run over, probably to Costco. Yeah, run over to Costco, and I'll probably get a ring. And if I don't like it, or if I don't like how it's working, I can always return it to Costco. That's what I love about Costco. That's probably where I'm going to go. And then I'm going to do probably two things. I'm going to put out my next sign, definitely covered with some kind of Vaseline mixture, and definitely, not cemented, but definitely tied down or chained down in a way that people can't steal it. But, I mean, they could always destroy it. But that's my next step. And if it gets stolen again, this is my solemn promise. If everyone who's watching who hasn't hit the share button, if you hit the share button right now, This is my solemn promise. If it gets stolen again, the next sign that goes out on my lawn is 4 feet by 6 feet, the maximum amount allowed by that Texas law, and it is going to be dark blue with red pinstriping around it, with the 5 or 6 stars at the bottom, and in big glorious letters, it's going to say Trump. Maybe odd pens, but probably just Trump 2020. That's my promise. Hit the share button right now, and my promise is that if this next sign I put out gets stolen, I will definitely put that one. And also, make sure you hit the share button because, as I said, when this is over, I'm going to buy a security camera. And if my sign gets stolen again, I promise you that you will be the first person to see it. That I will show it to you, the audience, before I bring it to the cops. That's my promise, but only if you all hit the share button. Well, that's going to be it for this edition of the podcast. Thank you for all your help. Really great ideas. I saw most of them. I tried to comment as I saw them. I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch and read more after. But thank you to all your suggestions. I think that I'm going to be able to do something here, and that makes it hard to steal and makes it a pain in the butt for anyone who tries to steal. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I really do appreciate it. So that's going to be it for this edition of the podcast. Remember that you can sign up and subscribe to receive the podcast in audio form if you want. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, on Google Play Store, on Spotify, on iHeartRadio, on TuneIn, or on Podbean. All of those links are in the description. We have more places that we're pending, waiting for our podcast to get to. But that's how you can subscribe if you want to listen to the podcast without watching live. If you want to go about your day and just listen, that's where you can do so. If you're listening, or if this is your first time on the channel, welcome. We go live Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern, roughly. And we do hour-long, long-form conversations. So if this is your first time, or if you haven't checked out the live stream, make sure you check it out. We're on YouTube and Facebook as well. Links in the description. Also, if you want to help out the channel, we have a link for our store for some merch if you want to buy some. Also, really important, there's a link to sign up for our email newsletter. Definitely sign up for our email newsletter. If we get taken down by Facebook or YouTube or whatnot, that's going to be how we reorganize the show and let everyone know what's going on. Also, last, we're on Parler, so make sure you follow us there at Conservative Daily, all one word, and we'll be happy to follow you back. I think I got it all. So, again, my name is Max McGuire. Remember that the fight to take back our country clearly isn't over, but the only way we win is if we all stand and fight together.